righteousness. This great redeemer of the ebonoid people, who was predicted by the 24 wise elder scientists of the inner earth to bring balance back into the world, is known under many names, titles, and attributes, including He who has no equal, He who there never was anyone like, the Supreme Being, the Mighty, the Wise, the Best Knower, the Light, the Life Giver, the Guide, the All-Powerful, He who knows how to reproduce the universe and the people of his choice. But his mother calls him Yashmal. Yashmal was the son of Princess Radiya of the Shayuk family, and Prince Atif the Sinin family. Yashmal's parents, Princess Radiya and Prince Atif, married each other in order to establish peace between their two quarreling tribes. However, the union of Princess Radiya and Prince Atif was more than mere chance. Their union was specifically guided, selected, and arranged by the 24 wise elder scientists of the inner earth, who were also genetic engineers. They knew that the offspring of the union between Princess Radiya and Prince Atif would be the personification of order to balance out and offset the chaos of Yaqub, who was the offspring of Yishaq and Princess Lucina. Yashmal began his education on the day he was born, as is the custom amongst members of the Shayuk. It would be unheard of for a member of the Shayuk to wait until the age of 4 to start school unless the child was mentally handicapped. Being part Shayuk and part Sinin, Yashmal's head was noticeably larger than the other members of the Shayuk and Sinin. Yashmal had an enormous head, 2 brains, and a third enlarged pineal gland which sat in the center of his 2 brains, making the top of his head appearing to be shaped like 3 orbs. Amongst the Shayuk and Sinin, Yashmal would be called the big head scientist. However, amongst these tribes, this statement was not taken to be an insult, but rather a compliment, alluding to the individual's intelligence in the same way that saying big muscles alludes to an individual's strength. Since Yashmal was raised in his native land amongst his people who looked like him, he did not suffer from the same ridicule, mockery, and low self-esteem which plagued his cousin Yaqub, who grew up in a foreign land amongst other than self and kind. As a child, Yashmal was an exceptional prodigy and a genius. Yashmal was also told stories of the evil activities which transpired at the hands of his cousin Yaqub. One day, when Yashmal was 9 years old, he was playing with 2 electromagnets in the home of his grandfather King Fukur, and noticed that electrons flowing in the same direction through 2 electromagnets would create the magnetic phenomenon of attraction, and that electrons flowing in opposite directions through 2 electromagnets would create the magnetic phenomenon of repulsion. By observing this, Yashmal realized that like flowing energies create attraction and unlike flowing energies create repulsion. Thus, Yashmal was inspired with a determined idea to direct the flow of mental energy of the ebonoid people of the planet in the same direction, so that the ebonoid people of the planet will be unified again to be strong and righteous, and bring peace and balance back to the earth forever. Upon coming to this realization, Yashmal looked up at his grandfather King Fukur and said, "Grandfather, when I get older, I am going to make a people strong and righteous, and I will eliminate the devilishment which has come into the world to show and prove real power and wisdom, and bring back peace and supreme balancement forever." Grandfather King Fukur said, "What will you make? Someone to establish order and cause harmony in the world." Yashmal said, "Man plans, and I plan, and surely I am the better planner." And it was at that moment, the boy Yashmal first came into the knowledge of just who he was, born to establish order, bring peace, build, create, and be the redeemer to the ebonoid peoples of earth. It is common for members of the Shayuk tribe to finish all of the coursework taught in all of the colleges and universities of the surface world by age 9, but Yashmal finished by age 7. If it took a member of the Shayuk tribe until age 18 to finish all of the coursework taught in all of the colleges and universities of the surface world, then that person would surely be looked at as being mentally handicapped or mentally retarded. Yashmal finished all of the advanced universal sciences which are taught by the schools in the inner earth by the time he was age 12, even though it is common to finish this coursework by age 15, but Yashmal was a genius and a prodigy. After finishing school, Yashmal met with the 24 wise elder scientists of the inner earth and told them of his intention to travel to the surface world as a bringer of peace and redeemer of the ebonoid people. Yashmal was tried and tested by the 24 wise elder scientists of the inner earth, and once found worthy, at age 18, Yashmal traveled to the area presently known as the Mwanza region near the countries of Tanzania, Uganda, and Kenya in Africa. Yashmal called his new doctrine Teachnology, and his holy book was called the Book of Teachnology of 720 Degrees, which was in a question and answer format designed to get the mental energies of the listeners flowing in the same direction, which would in turn create unity, harmony, and attraction amongst kindred. Yashmal's new doctrine was so powerful that he had millions of people from all of the tribes on the earth coming to hear his message and aspiring to be a part of his mission. However, From the millions of followers that he gained on the surface of the earth, Yashmal only selected 144,000, which he called the chosen few, to be a part of the next phase of his plan, and when Yashmal and his chosen few departed, he told the people on the surface of the earth he would be back in one day. So Yashmal selected 41,150 ebonoid females and 41,140 ebonoid males for a total of 82,290 people from the original ebonoid tribe. Yashmal selected 10,285 rubedoid females and 10,285 rubedoid males for a total of 20,570 people from the rubedoid tribe. Yashmal selected 10,285 citrinoid females and 10,285 citrinoid males for a total of 20,570 people from the citrinoid tribe. And Yashmal selected 10,285 albinoid females and 10,285 albinoid males for a total of 20,570 people from the albinoid tribe, which made 144,000 people total. Yashmal took his followers into the inner earth through an opening beneath the Great Lake in the present-day area known as the Mwanza region in Africa to begin his eugenics genetic engineering experiment of grafting the various tribes of people on the earth back into the original ebonoid tribe. Yashmal, being a master genetic engineer who was all-wise, right, and exact, knew that it was not necessary to kill anyone in order to accomplish his goal because he had knowledge of the science of dominant and recessive genes. Knowing that the ebonoid tribe was the first, then Yashmal knew the ebonoid gene would be the most dominant, followed by the rubedoid gene, followed by the citrinoid gene, and lastly followed by the albinoid gene. While inside the inner earth with his followers, Yashmal applied the science of dominant and recessive genes to design and engineer a system of arranged marriages by which the offspring born from each arranged marriage would have certain desirable qualities, and in time, over a period of 900 years, all of the derivative tribes would have been grafted back into the original ebonoid tribe. Yashmal also observed that the gene of the ebonoid woman was the most dominant gene, and so Yashmal established the following rules of arranged marriages amongst his followers. 10,285 ebonoid women and 10,285 ebonoid men would marry to keep the ebonoid gene strong and pure. 10,285 ebonoid women would marry 10,285 rubedoid men. 10,285 ebonoid women would marry 10,285 citrinoid men. 10,285 ebonoid women would marry 10,285 albinoid men. 10,285 ebonoid men would marry 10,285 rubedoid women. 10,285 ebonoid men would marry 10,285 citrinoid women. 10,285 ebonoid men would marry 10,285 albinoid women. Yashmal would also keep 10 ebonoid women as wives for himself. The men and women were required to get married by age 19, and each couple were to have 2 children. Living in the inner earth where he was from, Yashmal was continuously regenerated and rejuvenated and did not die like his cousin Yaqub on the surface of the earth. Yashmal was able to teach, socialize, laugh, play with the children, enjoy life, and observe the generations and progression of his followers over the centuries. The offspring of the ebonoid woman and the ebonoid man would always be ebonoid. The offspring of the ebonoid woman and the rubedoid man would also be ebonoid because of the strength of the ebonoid woman's genes. The offspring of the ebonoid woman and the citrinoid man would be ebonoid 75% of the time, and rubedoid 25% of the time, because of the strength of the ebonoid woman's genes. The offspring of the ebonoid woman and the albinoid man would be ebonoid 75% of the time, and citrinoid 25% of the time, because of the strength of the ebonoid woman's genes. The offspring of the ebonoid man and the rubedoid woman would be ebonoid 75% of the time, and rubedoid 25% of the time. The offspring of the ebonoid man and the citrinoid woman would be rubedoid. The offspring of the ebonoid man and the albinoid woman would be citrinoid. With the laws of arranged marriages in place, it would take Yashmal's chosen 144,000 people 46 generations over the course of 900 years to be grafted back into the original ebonoid tribe. During this time, for some generations recessive genes would tumble forward. After 12 generations, all of the albinoids had been grafted back into the citrinoid, rubedoid, and ebonoid tribes. After another 16 generations, all of the citrinoids had been grafted back into the rubedoids and ebonoids. After another 18 generations, all of the rubedoids had been grafted back into the ebonoids, leaving only the original ebonoid tribe. It was also observed that after 4 generations, if the albinoids refused to mix in, then they would be unable to conceive offspring after the 4th generation. After 8 generations, if the citrinoids refused to mix in, then they would be unable to conceive offspring after the 8th generation. After 16 generations, if the ruptoids